Okay, guys, so welcome to another tutorial for AP Computer Science Principles. Today we are going to work on the QuoteMaker app, and this is going to be your summative assessment for this section. Now, I'm going to show you the app working pretty much all completed. There are some things that you guys will need to implement for your QuoteMaker and establish some functions and create some functions and add some conditional statements to this app in order to understand it. Now, this video, you're watching this video after you have completed the first part of the activity guide. So you already created the variables or generated the need for certain variables in order to create this app. Now, as you can see, when I type, I'm going to type just a quote. Okay, so as you can see, when I type in my input, I can see it right away on my screen. And this screen, I can actually just change the size with this slider. I'm going to be able to change the size. I'm also going to be able to change the color of the background, just like you did on code.org. And on Thunkable, unfortunately, the free version doesn't allow us to get all the types of fonts. There is a work around this, but it's a little bit more complicated. So we are going to make a small modification just to get the font style, which is normal or italic. So these two are fine. So we use this list viewer for creating these two, and I'm going to show you in a minute how the startup code looks like. Okay, so pretty much this is what you guys are going to do, is just a quote generator or a quote maker. I can change to different styles, different background colors, and you guys are going to be able to finish implementing it. Okay, so it's your task to complete the following code. I'm going to walk you through just the startup code so you guys can see pretty much what is the logic of this app. Well, since you guys already know, we had to create some variables. Now, one variable is the quote. Okay, what is the quote that is going to be stored? That is one variable. So I create a variable called quote, and whenever I use the input, this quote is going to be updated and stored, and then I'm going to be able to use it and put it on my screen. Then I'm going to have another variable called font, which is basically the style of the font. Okay, as I said, it's either normal or it's either italic, and we can get that from the font, from the label. Okay, now I have another variable called background color, and that's the variable that is going to allow me to change the color of the background of that row or canvas. Okay, now the fourth and final variable that I need is the font size. Now the font size, I want it to start at 14, and I can use the slider then to change that value of the variable. Okay, and I have some other functions that are very important before you actually start. So one of them is when functions make, like when this starts, when the screen starts, because this is a set of different screens: the functions overview, functions practice, and functions make. And as you can see, what you guys are going to get when you start your code is three options. Well, since I'm saving a lot of code and I'm saving some projects, what you guys are going to do is that you're going to enter the functions make, and you're going to start working on the quote maker. Okay, and as I said, this code, it says that when functions make starts, when the screen starts, then I want to set the canvas. Okay, the canvas is the background part of my code. Is this part that you see with a black border? That is called the canvas. If you click on it, you can see that it's highlighted on the left. So it's very important that you know how everything is named on the different parts of the app. Okay, so the canvas is this part, so I can change it by saying from the canvas, set the background color to gray. So when it starts, it turns to gray. Then the quote, which is going to be the label, if I go back to my design and I click on this label, it's called, the name is quote. Okay, so that's very important that we know exactly what everything is called. So the quote is just a blank string. So that's why we set it up to a blank string. So when it starts, then this is really interesting. When the user input, and the user input is my input text box. Okay, when the user input changes, then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to set quote. So the variable is going to be changed to this, to whatever I'm writing. Okay. Now, the important thing, guys, is that you guys are going to do the functions, create the functions, because you're going to have to create all the code on update screen. And after everything happens, you're going to have to call the function of update screen. Okay, so remember that each portion of code can be added a comment. So you just right click and add a comment. And remember that it's part of the rubric explaining what does each part of the code does. That way you will understand, somebody else can understand, and people will actually, and you will actually have a very organized code. So on this comment, you can actually put whatever you need to comment on. So for example, if you want to say that this is the variable to store the quote. Okay, so this variable will store the quote. Now with everything, what I'm doing is that I'm storing and I'm updating each of the variables. In this case, when the input changes, well, the quote is going to change or it's updated. When the list of font, I click on them, then the app font will be updated with the item. Remember that all of these are strings, okay? Then the list of colors is also the same thing. When I click on the color, then the background color variable will be updated. And the slider is the only variable that we have as an integer, and on a value change, then the font size variable, which is an integer, will store the value. Now with these variables, you guys are going to create the update screen. Okay, the update screen should allow to update everything from the variable. So you need to change the label of the quote. You need to change the color of the canvas, the background color of the canvas, depending on some conditional statements. So you will have to create some conditions saying that if the background color, which is if this variable is equal to whatever variable I'm choosing, then I need to change the background color with this function. Okay, so this is basically what you guys need to do, and this is your task. Take time to understand the code, take time to develop the function, and also figure out where to call the functions. Every time that a screen opens, or that I change the input, or that I click on something, then it should change. Okay.